What if I told you that the next big global brands are being built right now in Africa? And what if you could actually be a part of it? Well, that's the core message of a powerful new guide that is completely flipping the script on business in Africa. We're moving away from these old, tired ideas and stepping into a world of tangible, really accessible opportunities.
Okay, let's just dive right into this. For decades, right, the story you've probably heard about Africa is all centered on aid, risk, and charity. But the new reality, and this is what the 2025 African Investor Guide is all about, is a story of trade, return on investment, and real, genuine partnership. And this isn't just a different way of looking at it, it's a fundamental economic shift. And believe me, it is happening right now.
So, you might be asking, why is this shift happening with so much energy right now? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is this really decisive pivot in U.S. policy. It's now prioritizing private sector-led commercial partnerships over the old traditional development aid model. And honestly, this is completely rewriting the rules of the game for how deals get done.
And let me be clear, this is not just talk. The new focus is all about being transactional, being concrete. It's centered on mutual commercial interests, with a really strategic eye on critical minerals and energy security. We're talking about real deals that create real jobs and real wealth, for both sides. The era of just symbolic gestures, yeah, that's over. And you can really see the momentum we're talking about right here. We're seeing over $2.5 billion in recent commitments. And these aren't just abstract promises, okay? These are major projects in logistics, in digital infrastructure, and in energy that are already taking shape. They're not just building infrastructure, they are literally building the foundation for a new Africa.
Now look, these billion-dollar deals are super exciting, but they're really just the tip of the iceberg. The real story here, the one that might affect you, is the new wave of opportunities opening up for small-scale investors. The core message of this guide is that you don't have to be some massive corporation to get on the action.
It's the most common question, isn't it? Okay, great, but where do I even begin? Well, to answer that, let's zoom in on a real-world example from Burkina Faso. You're going to see just how accessible and high-impact these opportunities can be. Seriously, get ready to be surprised.
Okay, now what's so cool about this slide is how it turns waste into a business plan. Check this out. In Burkina Faso, 90% of cashew apples are literally thrown away. That is a massive opportunity to turn that waste into cash by creating something like a juice or a vinegar processing plant. Or get this, the country imports millions in tomato puree while being a top tomato producer. This is what we call value-added processing. You take a raw material and turn it into a much more valuable product. And that is a huge, huge opportunity for small investors.
And the barrier to entry? It is so much lower than you might think. A lot of these high-impact ideas, like the ones we just looked at, can be launched with startup capital as low as $10,000. We're talking about things like small-scale food processing, artisanal crafts, even tech startups. This makes it a real possibility for entrepreneurs and solo investors to get in on the ground floor.
And on top of that, the investment environment is actively encouraging this. I mean, think about it. 5-year tax holidays, duty-free imports for your machinery, and access to a regional market of over 100 million people. These kinds of incentives can make a huge difference to your bottom line, especially when you're just starting. And with the government even willing to co-fund key projects, it becomes a really strategically smart move.
So how do you actually connect to these opportunities from wherever you are in the world? Well, the guide uses Massachusetts as a case study, but this blueprint for connecting a local innovation hub, a place where businesses and entrepreneurs come together to create new ideas, to global markets can be applied pretty much anywhere.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting, because even in a place like Massachusetts, which is a top innovation economy, there's this huge disconnect. Local businesses they're not connecting with these global opportunities. And that leaves a massive gap in the market. This chart just says it all, doesn't it? In Massachusetts alone, there are over 700,000 small businesses. But guess how many are exporting to Africa? Fewer than 2,000. That's not just a gap, my friends. That is a chasm. A vast, untapped market just waiting for someone to come along and build a bridge.
And look, I get it. The hesitation is completely understandable. These are real challenges that can feel paralyzing. We're talking about a lack of practical know-how, a fear of cultural missteps, uncertainty around capital and customs. It feels risky if you don't have a map. But what if I told you there is a map?
So the solution isn't just about throwing capital or ideas at the problem. It's about a whole new model for engagement, one that's built from the ground up to be effective and to mitigate that risk. And it all starts with one simple, powerful idea. Success is local. Okay, so here's the playbook, the real secret sauce. It's a 4-step model, and it's so important I want to walk you through it. First, you start with trusted local partners. These are the people who know the market inside and out. Then, you get expert guidance to help you navigate the cultural and business landscapes. This is how you avoid all those common pitfalls. Next, you mitigate risk by using that local knowledge to your advantage. And finally, you execute with confidence, knowing you've done your homework and you've got the right team on the ground.
And in the end, that's what it all comes down to. Follow-through is everything. A signed deal is just a piece of paper. Without execution, powered by deep local insight and partnership, any opportunity is just going to stay an idea. And honestly, that would be a tragedy, because the opportunities in Africa right now are simply too big to ignore.
So the takeaway from all of this is crystal clear. The narrative has changed, from aid to trade. The opportunities are more accessible than ever before, and the playbook for smart, local-first engagement is right here. The next global brands are being built in Africa right now. The only question left is, where will you be?